That night, as we shared dinner, she casually mentioned her favorite dish, the meat and potato pie her mother makes, something that had her eyes lighting up even as she spoke about it. I could feel how special it was to her, not just as a meal, but as a comfort she cherished. Her parents lived a couple of hours away, and without her knowing, an idea began to form. Later, as she drifted off to sleep, I slipped out of bed, my heart racing, and dialed her mother's number, hoping she wouldn't mind a late call. Her mother's voice was warm as she answered, a little surprised maybe, but instantly welcoming. I asked if she could possibly make the pie the next day by noon. She agreed without hesitation, sharing a warmth and excitement that matched mine, promising not to breathe a word of it to anyone. This was a secret between us. The next morning, after I dropped her off at work, I set off on that 2-hour drive to her parents' home. When I arrived, her mother greeted me at the door, surprised but delighted. It was clear she hadn't expected me to show up personally. I thanked her for her help and carefully carried the warm pie back to the car, savoring the thought of the surprise that lay ahead. By the time I reached her office, it was just past 2 in the afternoon. She was deep in her work, her usual determined self, but I managed to persuade her to take a break for lunch, promising it would be worth her while. To add an element of mystery, I playfully suggested she wear a blindfold. After a moment of laughter and some light-hearted protests, she shot me that familiar "you're impossible" look, but ultimately agreed. With her hand in mine, I guided her into the car, and together we headed toward the park. As we walked into the park, I led her to a spot under a sprawling tree where I had set up a picnic. A friend had helped arrange a beautiful cozy spread, a soft carpet, cushions, a light blanket of flowers that caught the breeze just right. The pie was there, waiting under a cover, its warmth carrying a scent only her heart would recognize. I took a breath, my heart pounding as I whispered, "Okay, you can take it off." As she lifted the blindfold, her face broke into a smile so pure it felt like sunlight. She looked around, taking in the setup with a joy that made every mile I'd driven worth it. I gestured for her to sit, telling her the surprise wasn't over yet. With a small, knowing smile, I removed the cover from the dish and offered her a spoonful. As she took a bite, she froze for a moment, her eyes widening in disbelief. In that instant, I saw the realization flicker across her face, her mother's recipe, her mother's touch. She looked up at me, the light in her eyes brighter than ever, stumbling over her words. "What? How did you? Where did this? When did?" Her happiness was beyond words, a joy that spilled over in her voice, making me realize that this moment truly belonged to her. Seeing that glow on her face as she savored each bite, it felt like heaven. Watching her eat, so happy, so radiant, there was a quiet completeness to it, as if the world had folded in around us and there was nothing else but this. In her happiness, I found my own, knowing I had brought her a piece of the comfort she cherished. That was all I would ever need. Thank you for watching aikdastaan, where every tale is a testament to the human spirit and every voice resonates with the truth as they perceive it.